Hi, friends. Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. Here's what we're discussing today. As a lawyer, I have had some really amazing clients. Now, I've had a few who were, maybe not so amazing, but the majority of the people that I worked for as a lawyer have been just phenomenal folks, people with good hearts who wanted to do the right thing, and particularly with regard to the injured clients who thought that the other person would want to do the right thing. Unfortunately, some of those folks put their trust in the wrong people, and I had to get involved. But in terms of amazing clients, I want to talk to you about a guy that I'm going to call Mike. Now, Mike's not his real name, but I was able to help him, and I want to tell you the story. So, first of all, we have to back up a little bit. I had been employed at a law firm in Kansas for 3 years, and my personal life sort of fell apart. My wife of 16 years at that point decided that she wanted a divorce, so we divorced. And, you can't go through a divorce without having just a few issues, and it didn't affect my performance, and it didn't affect my ability to get to work on time. But for whatever reason, the firm decided that they didn't want me hanging around anymore. So they let me go. And, at the time, I was really angry about that, and it upset me a great deal. But what I realized later, of course, is it was the best thing that could have happened to me. So after I got relieved of my ability to earn income through that law firm, I thought about going out on my own, but I wound up taking a state job in Missouri. I worked for the Office of State Court Administrator, and I learned that I was not a good state employee because state employees are expected to make it look like you're getting a lot done and make a lot of noise while you try to get things done, but never actually get anything done because it might affect your funding for the next year. I didn't want to stay in that job, so my old boss, the judge that I'd worked for, decided to leave the Supreme Court, went out on his own to take on the state's tobacco case, and he invited me to come along. So I did. And that was great. That was for about 6 months, and then in November of 1998, the wheels came off the bus. And the state decided that they would settle the case, and all of a sudden, all of us were now going to have to do something else. Well, my boss had gone to work for a law firm, so he was taken care of. My boss, who was going to keep his office in Jefferson City, said, "You can hang out here and maybe you can pick up a client or two." So that's what I did. So I went into solo practice, and I knew I needed to generate business. Well, one of the people that I just really loved when I worked as a clerk at the Supreme Court was Tom Simon, who was the actual appointed clerk of the Supreme Court. And he also was part owner of a local hotel. And he had a hotel worker that had a problem and needed help. So he said, "Look, this kid can't pay you anything, but he's got a problem, and if you handle this pro bono, you'll get yourself known with the judges, you'll get yourself known with opposing counsel, and sooner or later you're going to generate business based on just being a nice guy." I was doing okay as far as income went. I still had some money coming in from various sources, including writing, and so I felt like I could tackle that and do okay. So Mike was a single guy, and he worked at the hotel bussing tables, and he had made a bad decision. One of the things that my drill sergeant drilled into all of us in the Army was that you should never ever sleep with someone who was crazier than you are. Now, Mike found himself in a relationship with a young woman, and he was probably 18, 19 at the time, maybe. And unfortunately, that relationship fell apart. And, oh well, more fish in the sea, except this fish found out she was pregnant with child, and that really created a problem for him. Mike wanted to be a part of the baby's life, and Mom really didn't want to have very much to do with him, and didn't really want to have him have very much to do with the child. But she also had very little money, wasn't working. She had her child through Medicaid, and when that happens in Missouri, the state gets involved, determines who the father is, and forces them to pay child support, which is what they did. And of course, if you pay child support, you get visitation. And during visitation, Mike noticed that his son was not gaining weight. Now, this is a medical condition that is called failure to thrive, and it is often due to neglect. I don't think it was due to neglect here. I don't think the young woman was bad or evil or mean or anything like that. I just think that she had some emotional problems. But for whatever reason, the baby was not gaining weight. So he asked me what we could do, and I told him we could seek a temporary change of custody to get the baby the medical care necessary for this failure to thrive problem. And that was because the mom did not have really a lot of money and didn't have money to take him to get medical care, but she was on Medicaid, so she could have taken him for medical care and not had to pay pretty much anything. Well, we wound up filing an action, and again, as I said, Mom was disturbed and distracted, and I think she was just not spending as much time and, giving the baby the attention that it needed. So we filed a request for injunctive relief ex parte for a quick change of custody, and we were granted that relief. Now, in the meantime, I had to go speak to some professionals in Las Vegas, and Mom retained legal aid. And the Legal Aid Society came in and demanded to get a hearing that day. And so I called my boss, who used to be the Supreme Court judge, called the local judge who he knew and said, hey, can you just put this off till Tony gets back? And the judge did that. Now, I had never appeared in front of this judge before. So the day of the hearing, I go in and I see this judge, and we were not the first case on the docket. And he'd call up people, what are you here for? And he was something else. I mean, he was kind of crusty. I got to give him credit. He was kind of crusty. So finally, when it came to my turn, he called our case. I walked up, announced my appearance for the plaintiff. Legal Aid came in and announced their appearance for the defendant. And Legal Aid had a bunch of its clients there. And the judge, without ever getting to the heart of our case, without ever dealing with any fact whatsoever in our case, leans over the bench and looks at this guy from Legal Aid and says, I got a question for you. And the lawyer goes, yes, sir. And he said, how come is it every time you show up in my courtroom, I look over there in the gallery and it looks like the cantina scene from Star Wars? Now, you're not supposed to laugh at anything a judge says in a courtroom, but I couldn't help it. That was the funniest thing I had ever heard in a courtroom. And I don't know whether he was just trying to crack me up, whether he was trying to insult the other guy, or whether he just really was tired of seeing people come into court wearing T-shirts that said, a profanity with regard to the police. That's what I would say. And the hearing went swimmingly well for me after that. And here's what we actually wound up doing. We got the temporary relief that we wanted to, and we told the judge, look, we will return custody once the child is gaining weight and doing well. Well, at the time, Mom was very, very angry about it, probably almost as angry as the lawyer from Legal Aid, who was just incensed. First of all, that he was insulted in front of his client, and second of all, that he lost at every turn. But to make a long story short, what actually wound up happening is we kept our word. When the child started gaining weight and doing well, we always made time for the mom to come and spend time with the child. And I guess the fact that Mike was willing to go to the mat to get the relief that he needed for his son, in the end, it impressed her. And she stopped fighting him and picking fights with him over custody, over who was going to pay for what, over any of that stuff, and started working together with him, and they shared parenting. In Hollywood, this would be ended with them getting back together, getting married, and living happily ever after. But I'm not going to tell you that it was a Hollywood ending. It wasn't, but that's okay, because Mike had found somebody with whom he was exceptionally compatible. We'll call her Sally, and they got married. They had 2 wonderful children on their own while also sharing the parenting of his first son. Mike, who had started out bussing tables at that hotel, went to the local college, got himself an associate's degree, and then he entered the insurance business, and he made a reputation for himself in town as the go-to guy for insurance. Now, Mike was one of the first solo clients I had, and his case was exceptionally rewarding for me, not in a monetary sense, but in the sense of being able to feel good about helping somebody that, was in a pickle. And there is a saying that I use all the time that says, kindness is never repaid, it's only passed on. Mike could not repay the kindness that I did. He didn't have money to pay me for what I did, and I didn't ask him to pay me. I never submitted him a bill because that's not who I am. I am not somebody who's going to add to your problems. I'm here to fix your problems. So, but you never do a kindness for somebody that it doesn't ultimately come back to help you later on. When his son graduated from high school, he posted on Facebook to me the picture of his son's graduation. And it just made me feel warm and fuzzy inside again all over, because he got that opportunity. He got that opportunity to be part of his son's life and help him succeed, because I got to help him. Again, you will never know the problems that other people face, the burdens that they are carrying. And that's one of the reasons why it's very important to be kind to other people, even when they are sometimes unkind to you. So once the judges in that town knew that I was serious, I started getting cases, including my nursing home cases, which ultimately were a bonanza for me and got me hired by the law firm that my boss had been working with. I'll do more on that in another video. But I think here is the bottom line of this story. Not everything we do in life is measured by the money we get for it. A lot of people seem to think that's the case. Back when I was a respiratory therapist, you don't make a ton of money as a respiratory therapist, but you do have a very important job, and I enjoyed it. And I dealt with somebody who drove a brand new BMW, but he had lung disease, and he was just sort of feeling me out one day, and he said, "How much they pay you?" And I said, "Well, we can't talk about that." He said, No, I need to know. I mean, what are they paying you a year? 12,000, 15,000, what? I said, I've never really figured it out. I get my paycheck every couple of weeks, and that's about it. Because I didn't want to talk to him about what they were paying me, because I didn't really know the guy that well. He said, "Well, let me tell you what I make." He said, "I make $250,000 a year doing what I do in stocks and bonds. $250,000 a year. Tell me what you make." And I looked at him and I said, "Well, I got to tell you, I get peed on, I get pooped on, I get puked on. I have people cough on me. I work long hours. I get involved in trying to save lives. And so what I make is I make a difference. If you have the opportunity to make a difference, that's what really counts. Across the country every day, there are lawyers who volunteer their time for various activities. I was on the board of the American Respiratory Care Foundation. It's an entity that funds research into pulmonary medicine. I did that for about 10 years, and I donated my legal time and talent to that organization. And we did some good work when I was with them. Now, I never got paid for it, but I still felt absolutely great about it. If you have the opportunity to help someone who is having a hard time, someone who might be in crisis, maybe because their relationship is going into the tank, maybe somebody who just needs someone to listen to them and someone to talk to, you should always take the opportunity to do that. One of the things that being a healthcare worker taught me is that life is short and it does come to an end. I've seen that happen hundreds and hundreds of times. Nobody at the end of life in that ICU ever said to me, "Man, I wish I had spent more time at work and less time with my family." Life is short. Take time to do kindnesses for your brothers and sisters, and take time to be kind to your family. At the end of the day, when the time comes and you're looking at going toward that light, as they say, you have an opportunity to look back, and you can look back on memories, or you can look back on regrets. I prefer to look back on memories. So that's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching and for tolerating my war stories. I appreciate the opportunity to sort of share what I like to think of as some hard-won wisdom that came to me through basically serving other people. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments down below, and you can email me at the address above. I would really appreciate it if you would like this video, share this video. If you're not subscribed, if you would like to subscribe, I would really appreciate that. The channel has grown a great deal because of kind folks like you, and I greatly appreciate that. If you do all those things and help somebody out along the way today, then do me a favor and come back here tomorrow and catch me down at the beach. Have a great day. If you like this video, here are a few others you might try, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a terrific day, guys.